can break it down like this.
Revoke Article 50!
I can break it down like this.
No deal! Brexit!
I can break it down like this.
The voices of Brexit right here. The anger,
Stop
the fury.
Brexit!
You can hear it no matter where we go, no matter what we say, the anger is obvious among the people who were not heard, the people who were ignored. A populist force that has plunged the UK into a destructive conversation with no end. And no winners, just an absence of common ground and even common facts. Populism is the spirit of our age, and urged by the ignored and the forgotten to hit back against the establishment that has failed to address their concerns. Yet it has electoral appeal, successfully harnessed in the US by Donald Trump, and in Germany by the AfD, and on the streets of France by the Yellow Vests. But the consequences are equally notable. In case you didn't know, I was one of the original populists. In the 1990s, I worked for independent US presidential candidate Ross Perot. I joined him to challenge the establishment, but that was before the not-so-great age of social media. Back then, populism was about giving the voiceless and the forgotten the opportunity to be heard. But what too many of them are saying now is so ugly, vicious, and unfortunately, so easily disseminated. There's no place for civil conversations anymore. No reason to debate. People react immediately. Insults are liked, constructive engagement ignored or forgotten. It's no surprise that so many democratically elected leaders across the globe have such low approval ratings. Populism and social media, that's a dangerous cocktail. And the sad truth, I'm starting to question whether democracy itself can survive the social media era.
I can break it down like this.
Frank is with us now. Welcome back, Frank.
Thank you.
So, Michael, can democracy survive? Frank's thinking it might not.
If we're limiting ourselves to this country, I think very much so. In fact, the picture I would paint is quite different. When I've walked past those people outside the House of Commons, they are the most delightful traditional British eccentrics. They are funny, they are communicating with each other, they're pulling each other's legs, polite, doing selfies with each other. And actually, although, you know, the British people are pretty frustrated that we haven't settled this matter, I've never seen the British more wrapped in what's going on in Parliament. I mean, for the first time, they're understanding the difference between a law and a statutory instrument. They're understanding the privileges of the House and the privileges of the Speaker. They really are engrossed in the thing. And what they're seeing is not producing satisfactory results. We didn't see any majorities emerge in the vote yesterday. But what they're seeing is something that they've wanted to see for a long time, which is not members of Parliament constrained by their party whips, not people parroting a script that they've learnt from the party headquarters, but actually people thinking about their own conscience, what they feel, what they believe, what they think is the best for this country. And finally, they are absolutely representative of the country because the country is absolutely divided. And hey presto, the House of Commons represents us beautifully and accurately.
Respond to Michael, then I'll come to Stella.
Okay, so I really do enjoy both of you. And I don't want to give anyone a compliment because it might actually hurt your political career.
Where's this leading?
I don't know where you are. I don't know who you're talking to.
I live here rather than breeze in from time to time.
Well, then you're not talking to the people that you need to go to a pub and hang out and really get drunk, because what they will tell you around you is that they're nuts in Parliament, that they don't trust them, they don't believe them, they think that they're all playing politics, that they've lost the idea of representing the people. It's one of the reasons why Brexit passed in the first place, and it's happening all across the globe. It's happening in Germany, it's happening in Italy, it's happening in France, obviously it's happening in America, and the problem is populism is a great way to get elected and a horrible way to govern.
All right. If it is getting, if the discourse is getting more vulgar, more extreme, the way Frank describes it, can you put it largely down to social media?
No. I mean, I don't know how many death threats
you received when you were an MP, but it is now pretty commonplace. The numbers of my colleagues who have high levels of security and actually hate it. Like, I hate it because you just want to be able to connect and go around your community and talk to people. But fundamentally, it isn't about social media, it's about the people behind the accounts. Now, what social media allows you to do is amplify the anger and also find other people who will tell you that you're right. So what's changed for me in the 8 years of being an MP is that people now start every conversation with, everybody in Walthamstow I know agrees with me. And I'm thinking, like, my postbag just says completely the opposite. But people are filtering without realising, so they're not hearing different views.
In a way now, they talk in an echo chamber. I mean, maybe one of the lessons, Frank, is don't unleash forces you can't control. Don't pander to populism. Don't call referenda for party political convenience. Don't put Mr Corbyn on the leadership ballot paper as a jolly jape. Don't back Ross Perot, which rhymes with wacko.
You've been working on that for a while, I can tell.
No, I did it at the time. I just didn't know you were behind it.
No, the problem is that people really are forgotten. They really are ignored. They have every right to be angry with the system. But then when you start to elect people who are equally angry with the system, then it's not a matter of getting heard, you're just amplifying it. And what I'm basically asking for people is to take a time out, is to speak to people the way you would want an 8th grade teacher, I use American terms, a teacher to teach their students. That what we now accept in a politician, we would never accept in a teacher for kids who are 12 or 13 years old. And that's wrong. And second is that we actually encourage it on television. This is a very civil conversation. You're laughing, you're jovial, but this is very serious stuff. And unfortunately, on too many cable news programs, all they do is shout at each other.
But Frank is trying to make connections between what's happening in this country and what's happening in other countries, which are not accurate, which is why I restricted myself to talking about this country at the beginning. We do not have that list of things that Andrew mentioned at the beginning. We do not have an extreme right, as the Germans have, as the Austrians have, as the Dutch have most. No, we do not. What happened was, in this country, people were asked a meaningful question 3 years ago, which, for the first time, they were asked to make a real decision about their future. And the result was that at the following election, UKIP, which was not in any case an extreme party, it wasn't an unpleasant or hostile or aggressive party, disappeared. And the two main parties got 84% of the vote between them.
Yeah, but you can't get out. You have not left. You
No,
voted
that's
3 years ago.
But that's true. But let me explain to you.
8 different votes, and they all lost.
And this is
you
going
and
to be,
I are on the same side here, I think.
This is going to be difficult for you to understand as an American. But
Don't do that. That's pandering. That's exactly the problem.
No, but in this country,
that's the problem. They're insulting. Even the camera guy knows you're insulting me. Now you're shushing me.
I'm just trying to get a word in.
They're the smartest people in the room.
The whole room is against you, Michael.
I don't run for office anymore. In this country, sovereignty is vested in the Queen in Parliament, and that means that Parliament is the sovereign body. Along comes Cameron, very, very foolishly, and calls a referendum. And what that does then is to set up a referendum, a decision, which absolutely does not fit with our system. And what you're seeing now being played out is the conflict between a referendum, which really should not play any part of our system, and what is our real sovereignty, which is Parliament. And Parliament, of course, has the right to interpret.
Right, but let me get to some underlying themes here, though.
Yeah.
I would suggest to you, Stella, that, and this is true in Britain, continental Europe and America, the anger is justified because 10 years after the Lehman crash, the people who caused the crash are richer than ever. The people who didn't cause the crash have seen their wages stagnate. They're right to be angry.
Yeah, they are. But I would draw a difference in what Frankie's saying. So I think you can be angry about an issue. The challenge and responsibility of leadership is to show what you can do about it. And what's happening right now in politics, across all different political persuasions, is it's easier to find somebody to blame than an answer about what you would do. To find immigrants or the EU or, yes, Tories, just to say, well, we're not them, so that's why you should vote for us. And I'm pleased for you, Michael. I'm pleased that you're not part of it, because it's a horrible, toxic atmosphere to be in. But of course we've got the far right in this country. Goodness sake, Tommy Robinson is marching on Parliament Square tomorrow afternoon.
I think Michael's point was they don't have seats in Parliament.
Well, and
or votes in elections.
Well, and I serve on the Council of Europe, so I now deal with a lot of these European far-right, and actually a lot of the rhetoric and some of the things they say, they're in the local social media conversations as well.
You talk about leadership. The problem is that leadership on the left or the right from mainstream parties has not addressed a fundamental trend that's been taking place for the past 40 years. There's been a huge swing from labour to capital. Capital now takes the biggest share of GDP in modern times. And people therefore no longer think the system works for them. That's the underlying reason for the National Front, for the AFD, for the Five Star Movement, partly for the Brexit vote, for Mr. Trump. The capitalists have done well, Labour has done badly.
They work longer and harder, and they don't see anything for it. And now people who have worked hard and play by the rules, they're in their 50s and 60s, no savings, not enough education, and they see that they have no hope. But in the end, it is about results. In the end, it is about actually getting something done for the people. I've got 16 students here from 14 different countries, and they're watching Parliament. They're up every night watching the debates, and they think this is a laughingstock. Now, they don't understand that there's a give and take. They're not used to it. But these students from 14 countries are looking at Britain. They're saying, what the hell have you done to the world's greatest democracy? I'm surprised that you don't see it, and I'm surprised that you don't hear it, because I'm taking them through London, Paris, Brussels, and these NYU Abu Dhabi students are just, they laugh at it now. Britain is becoming, God, I'm so afraid to say this. From America, Britain is becoming a laughingstock. It shouldn't be that way. Oh. I respect Parliament more than any other institution. I respect what you do and how you do it, and I love the free flow of ideas. But at the most important time in your modern history, you are failing, and that's what the public feels.
No, I don't.
Actually, we've run out of time. But if we're a laughingstock, just tell me about Trump's America.
We're beyond. We're just. We really are beyond.
You're the prequel.
So it's chuckles all around.
And in all these other countries
too. He's going to get re-elected.
And this is why I'm afraid for democracy.
Okay.
Because, yes, we will continue to vote, but it doesn't mean that democracy is healthy.
All right. Frank, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good to have you back.
Pleasure.
So much more to talk about, but we'll return to some of these themes in the weeks ahead, the few remaining weeks that we have.